This is a clip from the Chris Brake Show podcast.
The minute we passed him, he pulled up behind us with his lights on and siren, and then there was about 6 other police cars that blocked off the whole street. I guess they were anticipating some kind of real confrontation.
Wow.
And, of course, I was then very nervous. I didn't really think that it could ever be that bad, and he came up, he was very, very angry. And the police, especially at that time in Ann Arbor, I guess maybe just because of the University of Michigan being there and a lot of the big sporting events, it has gotten crazy there a few times, but it's a very small, quiet town in a lot of other ways. So the police had a sort of a weird reputation, and he was very big. I remember that, just quite tall, and I don't want to say overweight, but just weighed a lot, and had a mustache, and was shining the flashlight in the window, and was really yelling, saying, "What are you doing? What the hell are you doing following me? That's harassing a police officer." And I thought he was going to ask me to get out of the car and all that, but he didn't. And I said, "Well, officer, I'm very, very sorry. I realized that we were behind you, but I didn't realize we were following you. We were just going in the same direction. We were looking for our friend who was downtown as well, so we figured why not stay behind the police. That's just seemed like almost a safe thing to do." And then he quickly calmed down. I don't know how I came up with that explanation on the spur of the moment, but it seemed to really calm him down. I think he also could see a lot of fear, terror, and confusion in my eyes. We also were completely sober. There was no funny business of that sort going on. And then it dispersed. So I never have followed a police officer, whether on bike or foot or car or boat, ever again, or horseback.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, don't do it. It's not worth it.
Definitely.
That's horrible. All right, there's another story that I've always wanted to hear details on, too, if you can grace me with this one. Something about you and your friends playing a heinously loud noise through a window and leaving it up super loud and then leaving. And then
Yes. It's actually the same friend around the same time.
I got to meet this guy.
This guy is pretty awesome. I think he has been living in New York actually recently, maybe upstate. But he was always up for fun, or what people would call pranks or things like that. I mean, we did all kinds of stuff. Some of it worse than others, and some things that I did on my own that didn't involve him. But this was a team effort for this particular story you're asking about. He lived in downtown Ann Arbor, actually literally next door to one of the parking garages that I worked at, and then he also ended up working at. And I had a very nice keyboard at the time, and a full PA system, or 2 nice, pretty good-sized speakers, and an amplifier and a mixing board. And they were all in my car because I had been playing some shows with them around town. And I don't remember exactly how the idea came up, but we had the idea because he lived on actually the basement level, so his window was right at the ground level. So his apartment was technically underground, but the window, as you've seen in basements, I'm sure, was literally at the sidewalk level. And it's a pretty heavily trafficked street. It's right in the thick of it, really, and there's lots of students. And I believe it was a Friday night, so very nice weather as well. And we had it planned out where we would wear these jogging outfits and go separate ways after placing both the PA speakers propped up into the windows with the several telephone books holding as many keys down on the keyboard as possible, and the volume cranked all the way up on the amplifier. And it was hard to tell from inside the apartment with the speakers facing out exactly how loud it was, but we could tell it was pretty loud. And by the time we actually ran out the back door, went our separate ways, and began running, we were completely overwhelmed by how loud it was. I think the fact that it was on the street level at maybe some kind of special reverberation, and then bouncing off all these buildings because it was a dense area. And not only that, but there were a lot of people out right at that moment. And it really was almost like a cartoon where people were opening their windows and looking out and going, "What is that?" And like cars were stopping in front of the building. But the way we did it was very hard to tell exactly where it was coming from. And soon enough, there was a police car there and shining a light into the windows trying to find also where the speaker was. But again, it wasn't easy to see. We realized that we had to stop this pretty quick or something, it could get really out of hand because it was so loud and such a strange sound. It really was just, it was like if an explosion never dissipated. So instead of like, it was just, the idea was we wanted it to sound like the end of the world, like that apocalyptic sound that signals the end or the changing over of an era. And we quickly went back into the building. We said, "Oh my, what the hell's going on? You know, you must like left a blender on or something." And we played dumb, like we didn't know what it was. There was a huge crowd of apartment residents around his door. We had to muscle through, turn it off, and then run. And that's when we really ran. And even then, people were kind of pointing at us and saying, "Hey, those are the guys," but no one really knew. It was such a confusing event for everybody that it was hard to even explain what had happened. And yeah, that was it. Then we ran for about an hour and then met back there, and everything was fine. But it was really loud. It was really loud.
Sounds like mission accomplished.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, we had intended to leave it going for hours, I guess, but it was probably all in all, it wasn't even on for more than 5 or 6 minutes.
Oh, wow. All right, question. You have the song Girls Own Juice. What is juice? Is it semen?
Well, I guess so. I hadn't thought of it exactly. I hadn't really thought about it exactly what it was. It was more like it could be all kinds of stuff. I was drinking a very large amount of orange juice around that time. I'm not sure if you've experienced this kind of thing or not. I've read about it, especially with other people at that age, 18, 19, 20 years old. I would have these cravings for sweet orange juice and would wake up sometimes even in the middle of the night and just guzzle an entire container, like the paper, cardboard, full size of Tropicana.
No Sunny D or anything like that, right?
It wasn't juicy enough. I want that pulp. I liked Homestyle Grove Stand even. I liked when it was very juicy, and I would just drink the whole thing in one sort of standing in front of the refrigerator gulp. And I think my body was just really craving fruit sugar or whatever they call it, glucose or whatnot. And I think I was just so obsessed with juice, all kinds of juice, really. I mean, pineapple juice, I would switch back and forth if I got sick of one. Guava, obviously.
From the Chris Brake Show podcast.